All right, so now that we've looked at slope and we've practiced slope, now we're going to look at slope with parallel and perpendicular lines. So your goal for this lesson is I can determine if two lines are parallel or perpendicular based on their slope. So to start off with, even though you've been working with parallel and perpendicular lines probably since elementary school, I want to review what they are real quick just so that we are 100% clear on their definition. So what is parallel? Parallel are two lines that will never intersect. And here is a picture of two parallel lines. So they will absolutely never intersect. And based on that, I want you to start to think about what that means for their slope, okay? Now, what is perpendicular? So perpendicular are two lines that intersect at a 90-degree angle, okay? So it's not just that they intersect, it's that they intersect to form a 90-degree angle. And so many of you are familiar with this notation for a 90-degree angle. And you can go ahead and ignore all of these points, just focus on the fact that they form a perfect 90-degree angle. So again, start to think what that means for their slope, okay? So parallel lines. Two lines are parallel if they have the same slope. So the slope has to be exactly identical. So if one line has a slope of m equals -3, the other one has to have a slope of m equals -3. If it's m equals 3, that's not the same. It has to be absolutely identical. So let's look at a couple examples, okay? So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to find the slope of this line right here, okay? So we have our y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I'm going to label my points here, y1, y2, okay? So I'm going to take my y2, which is -3 minus 1 over my x2, which is -3 minus 3. Okay, so -3 minus 1 is -4, and -3 minus 3 is -6. Negative divided by a negative is a positive, and then 4 over 6 is 2 over 3. So the slope for this line right here is 2 over 3. Let's check this one out over here. So I'm going to write out my formula, because remember, this is something you need to memorize, and the only way to memorize it is just to keep writing it. I'm going to label my points so that I don't get confused. Okay, so my y2 is 4 minus my y1 is 2 over my x2 is 0 and my x1 is -3, so minus -3. Okay, so 4 minus 2 is 2 over, now I have minus and negative here, so keep, change, change. Keep 0, change minus to plus, change -3 to +3. So 0 plus 3 is 3. So these two lines are both 2 over 3, which means that they are parallel. And what I've done for you here is you can actually see what these two lines are. Now don't worry about this equation right here for right now. I just wanted you to see what the two lines actually looked like graphed. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and take a look at this one here. I'm going to go ahead and write out the equation. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I have my x2, my x1 and my x2, my y1 and my y2. So my y2 is 1 minus my y1 is 3 over my x2 is 2 minus, and my x1 is 6. All right, 1 minus 3 is -2. 2 minus 6 is -4. Negative divided by a negative is a positive, and 2 over 4 is going to be 1/2. Okay, let's take a look at this one. I'm going to write out my formula. I'm going to label my lines, or my coordinates rather. All right, so my y2 is 5 minus my y1 is 4 over my x2 is 5 minus, and my y1 or my x1 is 3. So 5 minus 4 is 1, 5 minus 3 is 2. So both of these have a slope of 1/2, which means that they are parallel. And you can see these are the exact lines that we just found the slope of right here. All right, let's take a look at another one. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So here we have x1 and x2, y1 and y2. So we're going to have -1 minus -3 over 5 minus 0. Okay, so here we have keep, change, change. So we're going to keep -1, change minus to plus, and change -3 to +3. So -1 plus 3 is 2. 5 minus 0 is 5. And that cannot be simplified anymore. So let's take a look at this one here. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Label my coordinates. So we have 1 minus 3 over 0 minus 5. So 1 minus 3 is 2. 0 minus 5 is, oh sorry, that's -2. And 0 minus 5 is -5. So negative divided by a negative is a positive 2 over 5. So these again both have the exact same slope, 2 over 5, and this is what they would look like if they were graphed. That is the exact lines. They are parallel lines. They'll never run into each other, okay? And so just real quick before we go to perpendicular lines, so that you can understand this, because parallel lines have the same slope, okay? They are rising, if you can think about it this way, they're rising, okay, and running at the same exact rate. And so they will never, ever run into each other, okay? And that's what makes them parallel. So now let's take a look at perpendicular lines. So two lines are perpendicular if they have slopes that are reciprocals of each other and they have opposite signs. So what does that mean? Okay, so let's take this for example. So if I have 2 over 3, well, first of all, let's check off the first box. What's the reciprocal of 2 over 3? So if my first slope is 2 over 3, what's the reciprocal of 2 over 3? Well, that's 3 over 2. Remember, reciprocal means the flip, okay? So first I flip it, then it has the opposite sign. Well, if this is positive, this would be negative. So if you have the flip of the slope, of the original slope and the opposite sign, then they will be perpendicular lines. Okay, so let's take a look at some of these. All right, so I'm going to start by writing out my slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I'm going to label my coordinates, x1, x2, y1, y2. So I have 1 minus 2 over 2 minus 1. Okay, so 1 minus 2 is -1 over 2 minus 1 is 1. Okay, so a negative divided by a positive is a negative, and 1 over 1 is just 1. Okay, so let's see what the other side has for us. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I have my x1, my x2, my y1, and my y2. All right, so we have 2 minus 1 over 2 minus 1. So 2 minus 1 is 1 over 2 minus 1 is 1. Positive divided by a positive is a positive, and 1 over 1 is 1. So first of all, are they reciprocals of each other? Well, yes, they actually are reciprocals of each other. And secondly, do they have opposite signs? Yes, they do. So these lines are perpendicular, and this is what they would look like right here. Okay? All right, let's take a look at these two lines here. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Label your coordinates. All right, so first we have 2 minus 1 over negative 1 minus 3. So 2 minus 1 is 1. Negative 1 minus 3 is negative 4. So we have negative 1/4. All right, let's see the other side here. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Label my coordinates. All right, so we have 4 minus negative 4 over 1 minus negative 1. So let's see how that works out. We have keep, change, change. So keep 4, change minus to plus, change negative 4 to positive 4. So that's going to be 8 over. Then we have keep, change, change down here. Keep the 1, change minus to plus, change negative 1 to positive 1. And so that's going to be 2. So positive divided by a positive is a positive, and 8 over 2 is 4. So first of all, the reciprocal of 1 over 4 is 4, and then the opposite sign is positive. So these are reciprocals of each other. And this is what the graph would look like. All right, next one, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Go ahead and label your points. So we have 3 minus negative 3, and then we have 3 minus 0. So here we have keep, change, change. So keep the 3, change minus to plus, change negative 3 to positive 3. So that's going to be 6 over 3 minus 0 is 3. When I simplify that, I'm going to get 2. Let's do this one over here. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, x1, x2, y1, y2. So I have 2 minus 0 over negative 1 minus 3. So 2 minus 0 is 2. Negative 1 minus 3 is negative 4. Positive divided by a negative is a negative, and 2 over 4 simplifies to 1 over 2. So the reciprocal of 2 is 1 over 2, and the opposite of positive is negative. And this is what the graph would look like right here. And you can ignore all these other equations. I'm just showing you what the lines would look like. We'll get to the equations in the next lesson. All right, that is the end of this video. And like I said, in the next lesson, we will start to take a look at those equations that you were seeing on those graphs.